Okay, today we're going to talk about productivity. And, a lot of people want to be productive. In fact, I say a lot because there are some that don't. I'm not talking to you. If you don't want to be productive, I can't help you. But there's a huge number of people who want to be productive, but are actually not that productive. And there are a couple of things that trip them up. So I'm going to talk about basically 5 levels of productivity. Okay. And you should pay attention to all these too, especially if you're leading an organization, because you'll be able to see this in the people that you're leading. You also could see it in yourself, whether or not you're actually effectively bringing the organization to the next level by being productive and implementing a culture of productivity. First thing is failing to begin. This happens a lot. There are a lot of great ideas and great plans that people have. There are a lot of sanguine personalities out there. They get super excited and fired up about doing things, but they never actually begin them. And the reason they don't is because once they begin them, they are now accountable to whether or not what they're doing actually works. So being on the sidelines is a little bit of a safer place to be. I had to learn a foreign language. I just didn't have the time. I had to play the guitar. I'd have been great at it too. I just didn't have the time. Whatever happens to be, to prevent them from actually getting in the game where they are now actually held accountable for what they actually did. And so a lot of people just never begin in the first place. This happens in meetings all the time where people are afraid to make a decision. They lack the actual virtue of prudence. And because of that, they don't actually make a good decision and then implement that decision by taking action on it. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. The second thing is quitting. And it doesn't matter where you quit, this prevents you from being productive. If you build a bridge that's supposed to be 100 feet long and you stop at 97 feet, you can't get a car across it. You can't drive anything across it. You've got to finish the whole thing. So productivity is really designed to be completed. Now, most of the things that we're doing to be productive never actually have a full end. So for example, you might want to be productive in sales. Well, when are you done? I mean, it's not like generally speaking, a person is going to say, well, I sold 1 million or I sold 10 million or whatever size your company is. I sold 100 million. I'm done. No, they're going to say, well, wow, I did that by halfway through the year. My plan was to do that in a year. I'm going to increase my productivity. I'm going to double that. So there's never really a done. So it seems to be a contradiction to what I said before, where productivity is designed to have a finish, a completeness to it. But that's done in groups or in sections. So for example, today, in order to be productive in reaching my goal, I need to complete today X number of phone calls or leads or presentations or whatever it is. So today I can measure the fullness of what it means for me to be productive in the overarching scheme of things. Even if that overarching scheme itself changes because you reach those levels of productivity and you therefore decide to take it to the next level, which by the way isn't always the thing to do. Sometimes you should get to a level that you're comfortable with and you should celebrate that and relax and maybe take a little break while you move into the next thing. But you need to be reasonable about that too, because it can create laziness and sloth and all those different types of things. So the first thing is failing to begin. The second thing is quitting. Okay. And then the third thing is getting it done, but with sloppiness. Now, getting it done is better than not doing anything to a certain degree. Okay. And getting it done and staying with it sloppily is better than quitting to a certain degree, except for what it is you're doing. You're probably better not learning how to drive sloppily or fly an airplane sloppily. You're worse off doing that than just not doing it or quitting before something bad goes wrong. So the nature of what it is you're doing would determine whether or not this is actually a part of the process that makes sense. Now, in becoming a pilot, of course, you are going to be sloppy, but you're not being sloppy intentionally. You're being sloppy because you don't know how to do better. So your flight instructor is next to you to make up for the sloppiness. So the actual effect of things is perfect. But before you take a solo, your flight instructor needs to know that you can actually fly that plane without being sloppy, that you are going to be able to take off and land effectively with the plane according to the conditions that you're in. And of course, you'll always improve as a pilot, but sloppiness cannot be a part of it. So this is a very important thing to remember. What are you doing and do you have sloppiness? If you have sloppiness because it's inevitable as a new person in it, then make sure you've got those around you who can coach you so that the sloppiness doesn't actually have a catastrophic effect on others who might be in need of whatever the thing is you're doing to be productive in the first place. Okay. From there, we think about the kind of the opposite of this. So the first level is failing to begin. The next one is quitting. The next one is to get it done, but with sloppiness. But the third one is perfectionism. Perfectionism is something that never completes anything. Now, I suppose that would only be true if there wasn't something that you could do perfect. Okay. There are certain things we actually can do perfect. Okay. We need to get 10 bricks in a wheelbarrow, and your job is to load those 10 bricks in a neat fashion that will allow them to not fall out. And you can perfectly accomplish that. Okay. Now you could become a perfectionist in that you arrange them in ways that are totally irrelevant to the task. And this is where perfectionism is different than doing a perfect job. Perfect job, load them so they're safe. There are 10 of them, boom, perfect. Perfectionism is what never completes the job. And that is to take this to an irrelevant portion and to literally have to line them up exactly in the right way with some sort of pattern that's not relevant whatsoever to accomplishing the job. So perfectionism in almost every regard includes details that are not pertinent to actually accomplishing or finishing the goal and to accomplish the thing you want. But it's one of these things that does take place where we add additional steps because we measure things as more important than they are. Quite often they are more important only because of our ego, but other times they're more important because we can't see the grand full picture of what's taking place. We can't see how we fit into the rest of the picture. So you want to avoid, obviously, failing to begin in the first place. You want to avoid quitting before things are actually finished. You want to avoid getting things done with sloppiness. You also want to avoid perfectionism. And then you enter into getting it done the right way and on time. This is really how you measure it. Okay. There's almost always a timeline associated with productivity. And there's almost always certainly some sort of, factor of quality that needs to be related to that timeline in order to accomplish it. This is one of the reasons that people that are productive, is that they set goals for themselves that include both of these things, a deadline and a certain level of effectiveness or a certain level of quality in what it is that you're producing by the time you get to that deadline. By September 15th, I want to be able to hold a conversation with somebody in Spanish, even though it will be imperfect. And I might need to stop and ask, como se dice, a few times, okay? And that'll be fine. A year from then, though, I want to be able to have a full conversation with somebody about virtually any topic that I want, even though I know that I will not be completely fluent, I will be conversational. Okay, good. So that's a deadline, and it's the quality that you want, which is relatively understood. Now, it could be for anything, okay? But if you keep those things in mind, then you can be productive, and it's going to work out pretty good. Now, let's remember one other thing. One of the reasons that we're productive is because we have potential. Okay. And potential is complimentary at first. Oh, you have so much potential. Like, oh, wow. How good could I be? And it feels good when somebody says that. Depending on how old you get, how long people say that, that goes from pretty much a compliment to an insult because potential is unused ability. And if you have unused ability that just sits there constantly without you making a change to do something to use that, it says a little bit about your character. So let's make sure that we do reach our potential by being productive, setting those timelines and their quality, and things will go well for you.